Maritimo en Fedase del Mar. Ports and harbors. El Maritimo en Fedase del Mar. La cruel Mademoiselle de la Casa y de Maritim Senores Real. The sea, the troublesome sea, a cruel mistress and the kings of maritime. A stormy sea and waves of rage lash our sides with discontent, and like a buoy we tilt and career against a bitter wind. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Up and down we bob, out of control. Decks teem with water. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Members of the crew scramble to the masts and lock their arms around them and hang on with all their might and determination. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yet again a fiercely savage blow grips and we're held captive to the point where we all but upturn as we embark on another voyage on board El Maritimo en Fedase del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea. Whoosh, whoosh. Lower the sails, bosun. Lower the sails. Whoosh. All right, Captain. Whoosh. Whoosh. Must stay the course. We must stay the course of La Cruelle Mademoiselle, the cruel mistress. Whoosh, whoosh. I will not yield, concede, give in to your murky depths, like so many who have crossed your path. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The icy spray off the sea stings us at every turn. The howling wind, like a pack of wolves, rips our mainsail. Whoosh, whoosh. Bosun, bosun, lower the sails. Lower the sails. Whoosh, whoosh. All right, Captain. Whoosh, whoosh. Waves of 60 feet and more throw us into the dark sky, and together we plunge the perilous breakwater. Whoosh, whoosh. The scene is repeated throughout the night, and when day breaks, a calm begins. A beautiful beautiful day. Morning, Captain, said the lieutenant. Aye, we all survived, I take it. All present and accounted for, Captain, replied the lieutenant. Then it's time we had something to eat. Cook, aye, Captain. Make sure the men are fed and watered. Aye, Captain. Gunner, aye, Captain. Check the bindings and fixings on the cannons and guns. Aye, Captain. And repair and replace if need be. Third one this week, Captain. Aye. Bosun, I told you to lower the sails. Yeah, Captain, I managed 2 masts, but the treacherous conditions, the stormy seas. All right, Bosun. Charts. Where are the charts? Bosun, bring them to me at once. Aye, Captain. Lieutenant, aye, Captain. See to it the mainsail is re-stitched with all speed. Aye, Captain. Captain, the charts. Yes, give them to me. That stretch of water, a mile or so back, from this day on will be known as the passage of storms. And as the captain starts to make a note on his chart, he hears, my head. Who's that? Said the captain with a puzzled look. Who's that? Echoed the bosun. It was the gunner, said the gunner's mate. Bosun, go see what's gone on there. And on his return, the bosun informs the captain. Captain, the gunner was attending a carriage wheel when the binding rope snapped. The cannon rolled backward, and unfortunately, his hand was beneath it. He's with the doctor now. The sea, the troublesome sea, mused the captain as he looked toward the heaven. And in the few short strides, the captain is beside the ship's doctor. How bad is it, doctor? Well, Captain, he'll have to lose a hand. As you can see, there's not much of it left. But I could fit him with a hook. A hook? Good idea. Then do it with all speed. All right, Captain. And doctor, make sure he gets a good bottle of rum before you operate. The captain leaves the ship's doctor to attend the gunner. I picked these up whilst we were in dock from the stores and the quay. I felt we might need them. Hold him steady, cook. You too, gunner. I know he's out sake of a powerful right hook and 2 bottles of rum, but you can never tell, said the doctor as he looked at the fire and the knife with its blade glowing red hot. I had to use a saw to cut off his hand, well, what was left of it. I cleaned and dressed the stump. Now I need to fuse the flesh together in preparation for the fitting of the hook. The doctor, now knife in hand, begins to go to work. Still out? Aye, said the cook. Where's the bucket and water? I've got it, said the gunner's mate. Now put his stump in there. When he wakes, I'll fit the hook, poor chap. Day becomes night, night becomes day, day becomes week, week becomes month. I've counted 3 moons since we left port, said the captain to the gunner. Aye, the moon and the stars, they steal my heart whenever I look at them. How you getting along, gunner? Ah, Captain, I'm making do. A life at sea is full of uncertainty. This new hand, rotten luck, gunner. This hook. It might be of use, Captain, if we ran into some pirates. It could double as my dagger. Better yet, it might help in a sword fight. Of course, I'll only eat half as much, but who cares? With the slop the cook serves every day. Ha ha ha. I see you haven't lost your sense of humor, gunner. How about a drink? And the captain produces a flagon, and the 2 men drink until their heart's content. Captain, look! And the captain turns and looks starboard and says, Lieutenant, in the distance, it appears to be a lighthouse. El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, head toward the lighthouse, with its red and white alternate horizontal stripes, standing on a moderately sized landmass. And as the captain and crew edge closer and closer, the men begin to look at each other in disbelief. For lying across the rocks at the water's edge of the remnant of earth upon which stands the lighthouse, the guardian of all seacraft, they sight a scaled tail, a buxom bodice, breasts covered by clamshells and long, wavy red hair. The boatswain says to the captain, Captain, look, it's... Aye, boatswain, it's a mermaid. And when El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, captain and crew are within touching distance, the captain steps forward and says, Good day, princess of the 7 seas and oceans. Good day, captain. But you talk. But of course, replied the mermaid. The tail, the clamshells. You're a mermaid. A mermaid. But you don't exist. Only in stories and tales of enchantment. But as you can see, Captain, I do exist, and the mermaid confirms this with a swish of her tail. Swish! For I am Myrna the mermaid. On another occasion, I surface for air and to have a look around here at the lighthouse at the 4th corner of the world. 4th corner of the world, said the captain. Yes, said the mermaid, the 4th corner of the world. Boatswain, bring me the charts and instruments. Aye, Captain. 4th corner of the world, said the captain. Yes, said the mermaid, the 4th corner of the world. So called the 4th corner of the world For long ago, men believed the world to be flat. And I'm sure a man like you, Captain, a man of the sea, knows the world is definitely not flat. Quite true, said the captain. Captain, the charts. And the captain unfurls his charts. He reads the compass, nods and looks back to the mermaid and says, Dear Myrna, you are indeed a vision of beauty and true enlightenment. Why, thank you, Captain. And with that, the mermaid disappears. Slipping back into the water, she bids farewell to the captain and crew with a swish of her tail. Swish. The captain turns to his crew and says, Wonders never cease, men. Wonders never cease. Lieutenant, aye, Captain. Bosun, Captain, aye. And the captain traces the route taken so far with his left forefinger and says, Gentlemen, evidently we've been thrown off course, sake of the passage of storms. Behind us is a lighthouse at the so-called fourth corner of the world. The compass reads a bearing of 270 degrees west. It's time, Lieutenant, to redirect our course and set sail for the bearing of 90 degrees east, eastward bound. El Malatino and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea. Round the lighthouse at the fourth corner of the world, and set sail eastward bound, with only the seagulls, dolphins, whales and sharks for company. Second becomes minute, minute becomes hour, hour becomes day, day becomes days, days number 4. Since the captain and crew of El Malatino and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, rounded the lighthouse at the fourth corner of the world, and set sail for the bearing of 90 degrees east. We didn't have too much trouble with stitching the mainsail, Lieutenant. Not at all, Captain. In fact, it was a man of cloth who did the job, and a very fine job he did, even if I might say so. Aye. Moves and a quarter phase, gunner. Aye, Captain. Gunner, catch. And the gunner catches the flagon, the bottle of rum, thrown to him by the captain in a basket. He picks up on the end of his hook. You become rather skillful, gunner. Aye, Captain. Have to get used to this new hand. Good man. Keep it up. Bosun, Captain, instruct the cook to cast the net. I have a feeling we're in for a decent catch in these waters. Aye, Captain. The captain now walks from midships to his foredeck and stands with only the bowsprit before him. His right hand takes from the breast pocket of his frock coat a brass telescope. He extends the lens, and a watchful eye begins to scrutinize. From 0 to 180 degrees, he swings an arc left to right and returns to a central position of 90 degrees, looking out at the vast expanse of water meeting the sky. And from what appears as a dot on the horizon, the captain sees plumes of smoke, great thick black clouds billowing out from a galleon, an ill-fated voyager, and says, "My God, Lieutenant, aye, Captain, Gunner, aye, Captain, Bosun, Captain, aye." And within a matter of moments, the men are beside their captain. He hands them the brass telescope, and in turn, the lieutenant, the gunner, and the bosun look and see the ill-fated voyager, the galleon on the horizon, and the plumes of smoke, the great thick black clouds billowing out. "Captain, that galleon is on fire." "Aye," said the lieutenant. "That's quite true, gunner. We must go to its rescue, Captain." "Aye, Captain," said the bosun. "All hands on deck, Lieutenant," said the captain. "All hands on deck," said the lieutenant. "Hands on deck," repeated the gunner. "Deck hands! Hands on deck!" managed the bosun. And in a matter of minutes, the captain is standing before his crew. "Men, have your grapples, your lines, your ropes, your arms at your sides. Doctor, aye, Captain, your medicines and bandages at the ready. They may be needed. For on the horizon, gentlemen, an ill-fated voyager, a galleon, is on fire and in need of our assistance." "Aye, hear, hear," say the members of the crew. El Maritimo and Fedasi del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, captain and crew head toward the ill-fated voyager, the galleon which is on fire. And when the captain and crew of El Maritimo and Fedasi del Mar are but 5 yards away from the ill-fated voyager named the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, the captain says, "Men, now we must ready ourselves to board the ill-fated voyager, the galleon, the San Maritim, the Sea Saint." The captain, followed by the bosun, the lieutenant, the gunner's mate, the doctor, the man of cloth, the cook, and several hands are now but a yard apart at the side of the ship. And when Maritimo Fedasi del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, captain and crew are but a yard adrift of the ill-fated voyager, the galleon, the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, the captain says, "Now, men, throw your lines and the captain and crew hurl their grapples across and attach to the sides of the ill-fated voyager, and in one uniform movement, the captain and crew haul El Malatimo and Fedasa del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, alongside the ill-fated voyager, the galleon, the San Malatim, the sea saint. And one by one, the captain and his crew board the ill-fated voyager. "Holy man," said the captain, "it's funny, strange. I see no bodies lying across the decks. And at the same time, I hear not a single sound, only the crackling of the fire of the aft deck, on the stern of this ill-fated voyager." "Perhaps it's a ghost ship, Captain," said the gunner. "Ghost ship?" replied the captain. "Aye, Captain," said the lieutenant. "You hear these stories of these ships drift in the oceans and seas unmanned for months and in some cases years. But that's the stuff of legend, Lieutenant, surely not." "Well, Captain, you can never tell," said the boatswain. "Lieutenant?" "Aye, Captain." "Boatswain?" "Captain, follow me." And the captain, the lieutenant, and the boatswain head to the aft deck at the stern of this ill-fated voyager, the galleon, the San Malatim, the sea saint. Through the great thick black clouds of smoke, the men begin to feel the effects of the inhalation of this smoky vessel. Up the stairs to the aft deck, the lieutenant says, "Captain, look." And the boatswain adds, "I see." "Yes, boatswain," says the captain, "3 trunks, all on fire." "Funny. You smell rum?" "Aye. Now you come to think of it," said the lieutenant. "Aye, Captain," said the boatswain. "And there's the clothing, the breeches, the shirts, hanging over the sides of these trunks." "Hurry right there. Turn around." The 3 men turn around, and standing before them is a behemoth of a man, a grizzly pirate, with a musket in his right hand and a sword in his left. "I am Captain Jake of the San Malatim, the sea saint. Who are you, and what do you want?" "I am Captain Gonsalves of El Malatimo of Fedasa del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, and this is my lieutenant and my boatswain. We saw you from a distance, aflame, the plumes of smoke. We thought you might need assistance, our help. We've come to your rescue." "Ha ha ha! You fell for it, have you? A lure, Captain. A simple lure to get you and your kind to board our ships. Then of course we will have to relieve you of your booty and your valuables. Now go join the rest of your crew and midships." And Captain Jake, the behemoth of a man, directs the captain, the lieutenant and the boatswain down the stair with his musket and points towards the center of his top deck, where the remainder of the crew of El Maratimo and Fedasa del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, stand and are surrounded, completely encircled by the sword dogs, the pirates, the buccaneers of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint. Captain Jake gives the order to his number 2. Foss, you and 2 men, relieve these sailors of their valuables and their purses. And the number 2 of San Maritim, the Sea Saint, Foss, and 2 of his sword dogs begin to make their way through the crew of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, collecting their valuables and their purses. Then a cavernous sound is heard, a cry of "Never!" and the captain and his crew recognize the voice of Gunner, and they remember his earlier misfortune. And the captain says, "Men, take up arms!" And a full-scale battle begins on the top deck of the galleon, the San Maritim, the Sea Saint. Cries the sword dog of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, as the point of the lieutenant's sword pierces his chest. Yes, that takes care of you dastardly band of pirates, said Gunner as he hacked through the necks of 4 corsairs with his hook and sword in his right hand. As a spirit gunner, aye, Captain, I always thought this hook would be of some use. Boom! Captain, said Bosun, we've lost a hand. Aha! Grape shot, Captain Gonsalves, said Captain Jake. Captain Gonsalves approaches Captain Jake, sword in hand, and makes a short cries a sword dog of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, as the point of the lieutenant's sword pierces his chest. Yes, that takes care of you dastardly band of pirates, said Gunner as he hacked through the necks of 4 corsairs with his hook and sword in his right hand. As a spirit gunner, aye, Captain, I always thought this hook would be of some use. Boom! Captain, said Bosun, we've lost a hand. Aha! Grape shot, Captain Gonsalves, said Captain Jake. Captain Gonsalves approaches Captain Jake, sword in hand, and makes a short jump forward and lunges in a move called the balestra. The point of Captain Gonsalves' sword bores the midriff of Captain Jake. Ah! Gonsalves, you wretch! Captain Jake, the behemoth of a man, the grizzly pirate, swings wildly, sword in left hand. Captain Gonsalves sees this and ducks under the swathe of his opponent's attack. Then boom! The sound of musket fire is followed by a cry of "Ah!" from Captain Gonsalves. For his shoulder, The top of his left shoulder is blown off, and blood begins to spray from the wound. But Captain Gonsalves is undeterred. The fearless captain is not troubled as he advances his enemy once again. Moving in for the kill, Captain Gonsalves, with one mighty swing of his sword, severs the veins in the neck of Captain Jake. The sound of the last words of Captain Jake. Dum-dum-dum-dum. The body of Captain Jake, the behemoth of a man, the grizzly pirate, collapses in a heap on the top deck of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint. A pool of blood now surrounds the fallen captain, signaling the end of Jake. Captain Gonsalves takes the musket out of the hand of his fallen enemy, the behemoth, the grizzly pirate, and fires 3 shots into the sky above. Boom, boom, boom. And in a matter of moments, the clashes of swords, the flying fists, the full-scale battle stops and is at an end. And silence begins to creep across the top deck of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint. Halt, I say, halt! Shouts Captain Gonsalves. Now the crew of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, you have a choice. You either surrender or fight on. I'll give you a short while to make your decision. And by this time, the surviving members of the crew of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, are standing behind their leader, Captain Gonsalves. And together, the tenacious rovers of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar watch as the number 2 of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, Foss, talks to his fellow pirates. And when their discussion ends, the number 2 of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, Foss, approaches Captain Gonsalves and says, "As you can see, Captain Gonsalves, we have been dramatically reduced in number, and we are in agreement and have decided to stand down and surrender." "Hear, hear, Foss. A smart move," replies Captain Gonsalves. "We of course expect our valuables and purses to be returned." "Without question, Captain Gonsalves," said Foss. "Bosun, Captain I. Lieutenant, Captain. The 2 of you go along with Foss and collect our valuables and purses. Don't worry, we're here watching and waiting." The bosun and the lieutenant return with their arms laden with the possessions belonging to their cohorts, and along with Captain Gonsalves and the remainder of their crew, leave the San Maritim, the Sea Saint, and once again board El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, carrying the bodies of their fallen shipmates with them. Day becomes night, night becomes day, day becomes days, days number 8. Since Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew outfought the sword dogs and buccaneers of Captain Jake, the behemoth of a man, the grizzly pirate, on the top deck of the San Maritim, the Sea Saint. It's a shame about our fallen captain. Aye, Lieutenant. I said a special prayer for all lost at sea. Not the enemy, man of cloth. Yes, even the enemy, gunner. For we are but souls on this spiritual plane we call Earth. I will give notice to their wives and loved ones when we return. As a captain, to meet a family and have to tell them of their loss is the part I hate the most. Captain, aye, bosun. Think of it this way. If we were never to sail the seven seas, our lives would not be half as rewarding. You know, bosun, Captain, aye. For once you said something meaningful. Ha. Here, Captain. Coming from bosun, a pearl of wisdom is as rare as a blue moon. True, so true. Gunner, added the lieutenant. Son, Mother Tim, the sea saint was a hurdle we overcame with great difficulty. We lost several hands who were mournfully buried at sea. Now, on the crest of a wave, buoyancy our guide, we continue to chart the waters. On board El Maritimo and Pedazo de Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea. We sight land and drop anchor a mile or two offshore and take the rowboats. Alongside myself, the captain, the lieutenant, the gunner, the boatswain, the cook, the doctor, the man of cloth, and several hands, and forge the Azure, the great Azure. We affix our rowboats to the pier and stride the boardwalk which leads to a town square, where we find a timber yard, a steel mill, an armory selling guns, munitions, and swords, an instrument maker who produces fine works, clocks, pocket watches, compasses, and sextants, a rope maker with ropes of varying sizes on display, along with sails and netting, a men's outfitter, a woman's outfitter, a seller of fruit, vegetables, and other groceries, a butcher, and a fishmonger, all either side of an inn, with a sign that reads, "The Smuggler's Rest." We make our way up the steps and enter. We're greeted by the warm glow of afternoon entertainment. A slightly out of tune piano, the boisterous talk of salt dogs and buccaneers, men, some with women on their laps. Numerous women are present, full-bosomed and colorfully attired. The hilarious sound of their laughter dance beside the smell of beer and whiskey. The crew of El Maritimo and Pedazo del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, occupy the chairs of two empty tables, whilst the captain makes his way to the bar. "What will it be?" said the bartender. "I'll take 2 bottles of whiskey and 2 pitchers of beer." "Are you with the party I've just seen entered?" "Aye," said the captain. "I'll have my boy bring the drinks across." "You in town?" "Aye. I am Captain Gonsalves. of El Maritimo Enfadase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea. I dropped anchor a mile or so offshore, and along with my crew, took my rowboats and rowed across. We saw your inn with the sign that reads the Smuggler's Rest, and thought we'd stop off for refreshments and a little entertainment. I don't exactly know where we are, but I'm sure we'll find out. The bartender has a quiet laugh to himself. For your information, this inn, with the sign that reads the Smuggler's Rest, takes its name from the island. An island of legend, for the likes of Long John Silver and the pirate Blackbeard have all visited our shores and have indulged in the pleasures of wine, women, and song at this very inn. If the caress of a woman you yearn, Captain, I'm sure you will not be disappointed with the women here at the Smuggler's Rest. A gambling man, there are more than enough men ready and willing to wager a bet at the tables. We've become something of a trading post here at the Smuggler's Rest. There's always something to buy, trade, sell, or exchange. You'll find many a soul dog with something collectible at hand. Aye. Thank you for that information, bartender. And with that, the captain leaves the bartender to tend his bar and makes his way across and joins his crew. He sits down and finds a glass of beer ready and waiting. He takes a sup and says to the boatswain, "Boatswain, Captain, where's Gunner?" Captain, Gunner and the gunner's mate, they made their way upstairs with two rather inviting-looking ladies, Captain. Gunner and the lieutenant and the cook. The cook, the lieutenant and the cook, Captain, yes. They've got themselves involved in a card game over there at a table. The captain then looks across to the tables, and as he does, he catches a glimpse of a small figure of a man scurrying back behind the bar. He identifies the lieutenant and cook, then looks back to his table, takes another sup of beer from his glass, then says to the man of cloth, "Man of cloth, how are you doing?" Captain, I'm doing fine. But, as you can see, my only sin, the golden smack, honey fire. Honey fire? What are you talking about, man of cloth? Whiskey, Captain. Whiskey? Whiskey. Yes, good old whiskey. I have an absolute penchant for the stuff. And if you permit me, I will continue to imbibe. By all means, man of cloth, drink whilst you can. I say you're a liar and a cheat. Nonsense, no truth in it whatsoever. I say you're explosives going on there? Said the captain. Captain, it seems the lieutenant's got himself into a spot of bother at the tables. I say you're a liar and a cheat. You won that pot of money, but you won it dishonestly, said a portly figure of a man, a rotund pirate. Nonsense, no truth in it whatsoever, said the lieutenant. The captain, the boatswain, and a man of cloth get to their feet and make their way across to the tables, where the captain says, Lieutenant? Captain, this portly figure of a man, that rotund pirate, has accused me of cheating. There's no truth in it whatsoever, Captain. Well, I say you're a liar and a cheat, Lieutenant. And if you're not a cheat, empty out your pockets onto the table. Lieutenant, said the captain. All right, said the lieutenant. And the lieutenant carefully empties the contents of his left pocket of his frock coat onto the table. There! And for all to see, lying on the table is the king of clubs. Now the other, said the rotund pirate. And again the lieutenant carefully empties his pocket, this time the right pocket of his frock coat, onto the table. Again, I knew you were a cheat. For lying there for all to see, now is a second card. A king of diamonds. Lieutenant, said the captain. Captain, I have no idea how these cards made their way into my pockets, said the lieutenant. I say you're a liar and cheat. And I have proved it. Now I challenge you to a duel, Lieutenant. Swords or muskets? Gentlemen. You're not the only patrons of the Smuggler's Rest. If you have a dispute, a note of discord, there's a yard outside the back through the doors. Go out there and settle your differences, said the bartender. Swords or muskets? Said the rotund pirate. Pick the sword. Lieutenant, you live longer. Right? Swords. Thank you, Captain, said the lieutenant. And the rotund pirate and the lieutenant are handed swords, and the two men make their way out through the doors onto the yard at the back of the inn, followed by a group of buccaneers and souldogs, a handful of women, full-bosomed and colourfully attired, the captain, the boatswain, and the man of cloth. The two men, the lieutenant and the rotund pirate, stand in the center of the yard, and around its edge are the women, the buccaneers and souldogs, the captain, the boatswain, and the man of cloth. On guard, says the rotund pirate. The swords clash as the two men engage in their duel. Back and forth, blocking and thrusting, parrying, neither man giving ground. Then the rotund pirate charges toward the lieutenant with his outstretched arm and his thrusting sword. The lieutenant sees this and steps back and to his left. And as the rotund pirate rushes past him with his swordless hand, he hits the rotund pirate in the middle of his back. The rotund pirate falls to the ground. "Get up, you wretch," says the lieutenant. And the lieutenant allows the rotund pirate to return to the center of the yard. "He's rather good," said the captain. "Aye," said the man of cloth, "I recognize that move, the flèche. He must be skilled." "Aye," said Captain, said the boatswain. And again the swords clash as the two men continue their duel. A cry is heard from the lieutenant, for the sleeve of his shirt, the left sleeve, is cut, and a gash opens up, and blood begins to pour. "What you deserve, you cheat." And again the swords clash as the two men continue their duel. And again the lieutenant cries. This time the right leg of his breeches is cut, and again a gash opens up, and blood spills. "Yes, you cheat. You are far too lucky to knock me to the ground." And again the swords clash, back and forth, thrusting and parrying, neither man giving ground. Then the lieutenant feigns. He pretends to thrust his sword towards the right, and then redirects to the left, aiming for the left side of the midriff of the rotund pirate. The rotund pirate seizes and blocks the thrusting sword of the lieutenant. Good, but not good enough, lieutenant. And again the swords clash, back and forth. The two men continue their duel. Then the lieutenant draws back his right arm and swings his sword in an arc and makes contact with the rotund pirate's left ear. I've been cut! And the rotund pirate clutches his left ear with his left hand, and blood begins to trickle down through his fingers. And when he takes his left hand away from his ear, his palm smears blood onto his left cheek. You wretch, said the lieutenant. And again the swords clash, back and forth, thrusting and blocking, neither man giving ground. Then the lieutenant threads his sword through the handle guard of the rotund pirate's gleaming silver weapon, and throws his sword up into the air and disarms the rotund pirate. You wretch! Now I've got you, said the lieutenant. The rotund pirate falls to his knees at the mercy of the lieutenant. The lieutenant then rests the point of his sword on the chest of the rotund pirate and says, I ought to kill you. In fact, I'm going to chop your head off. And the lieutenant draws back his right hand and begins his arc and swing of his sword. And just before he makes contact with the neck of the rotund pirate cries out, No! No! I beg you! It was a setup along with the bartender. It was the dwarf. The dwarf planted the cards. It's what we do to newcomers at the Smuggler's Rest, who we do not like the look of. We set them up and challenge them to a duel. We either shoot them or put them to the swords. And when we're through, we throw their bodies to the sharks. Lieutenant, said the captain, you have your confession. The boatswain and the man of cloth joined the captain beside the lieutenant. Spare him, lieutenant, for even the most evil sinner is forgiven at the gates of heaven. Perhaps, said the lieutenant, have the doctor take a look at your wounds, lieutenant. Captain, said the boatswain. What an ordeal. Might I suggest, gentlemen, we get out of this God-forsaken inn as quickly as possible. Consider yourself lucky, said the lieutenant to the rotund pirate. And the captain, the lieutenant, the man of cloth and the boatswain make their way back in to the Smuggler's Rest and join the remainder of the crew at the tables. Now where have you been? Said the captain to the gunner. Captain, I could never resist the charms of a woman. Besides, the gunner's mate is a bit wet behind the ear. You've missed all the fun, said the captain. Fun? Said the lieutenant. My life was on the line back there. Forgive me, lieutenant. We had a spot of bother involving the lieutenant and the rotund pirate. I'll tell you about it on this ship. Aye, Capt, said the gunner. Boatswain, Captain, aye, grab that bottle of whiskey. Gentlemen, let's get out of here, this God-forsaken inn, as quickly as possible. The captain takes a measured look at the bartender, and along with his crew, make their way out of the inn with the sign that reads, The Smuggler's Rest. Down the steps, they walk to the center of the town square, where the captain addresses his crew. Gunner, aye, Captain. Along with the mate in a hand, you go to the armory for some guns, munitions, and swords. Aye, Captain. Man of cloth, Captain. Lieutenant, aye, Captain. You go to the instrument maker for a compass and a sextant. Aye, Captain. Bosun, Captain I, along with 2 hands, you visit the rope maker for sail, netting, and some lengths of rope. Aye, Captain. Cook, aye, Captain. We could do with some fresh fruit and some meat for salting. Aye, Captain. I leave one of the rowboats. I expect you back at the ship in, say, an hour. Aye, Captain. Captain. And the captain and the remaining hands make their way to the pier and take their rowboat and row back to their ship. El Maritimo en Fedase del Mar. Day becomes night, night becomes day, day becomes week, week becomes month, month becomes months, months number 6. Since we left Port Key. Land, land, land ahoy! Captain, Captain, land, land! One of the hands have sighted land, said the boatswain. How far, boatswain? Said the captain. I'll just find out, Captain, replied the boatswain. And on his return, the boatswain informs the captain, approximately 2 miles, Captain. Tell the lieutenant boatswain to drop anchor a mile offshore. Aye, aye, Captain, said the boatswain. Boatswain, added the captain, Captain I. In future, you make ready shore. You have all the necessary information before you make your report to me. Is that clear, boatswain? Captain I. Aye, aye, Captain, replied the boatswain. And off the boatswain went to the lieutenant. El Maritimo en Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, continues to chart the open waters and drops anchor a mile offshore. The captain gathers his crew before him and says, Men, the island lying ahead could well be the reason for our voyage. We set off from Port Key 6 months ago, destined for an island named Paradise Lost. And if I'm not mistaken, this may well be it. Legend has it, a tribe of warrior women live on this island, and I aim to find out if it's fact or fiction. Women, Captain? Aye, gunner. But I wouldn't start dreaming just yet. As I've been told, Hercules himself would have to physically move a mountain just to get a second look out of these girls. Ha 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 ha, scoffed the lieutenant. To the rowboats, men, barked the captain, and the Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew depart in 2 rowboats, and at a steady pace make it ashore. They row into a break in the rocky coastline of the landmass, an inlet, and on the sandy edge of this cove, the captain and crew anchor their vessels, and then begin to follow a dusty path, which disappears into an undergrowth of tall grasses and bushes, and after several minutes of trudging nature's defences, they find themselves in a clearing. The fearless captain and the courageous crew of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, sight what appears to be a small village, a number of huts made of timber. The captain and his crew then see a gathering of very attractive women, dressed in grass skirts with leaves covering their breasts. Captain Gonsalves and his crew stand before a fence approximately 30 foot in height, made out of bamboo, which encloses the small village. "Captain," said Bosun, "those women, this is truly a paradise." "Yes," said the lieutenant, "I agree. And gunner, all are God's handiwork," said the man of cloth. Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew take a further 3 paces forward to the fence for an even closer view when, we're falling! For the fearless captain and his courageous crew have fallen into what appears to be a cave. "Lieutenant," "All right, Captain." "Bosun, can I?" "Gunner." "All right, Captain." "All survived, I take it." "All right, Captain. Aye. "A booby trap. These girls are smart," said Captain Gonsalves. Just then, the rumble of heavy stone is heard, for a great boulder begins to move. The men gasp. Captain Gonsalves says, "Whatever next?" And standing before them, holding torches and with muskets in their hand, is a group of warrior women. One of the warrior women says, "On your feet!" And Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew are then led through an underground tunnel, which leads out to an opening in the mountainside. Then after a short walk along a path, the warrior women, Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew, arrive at a clearing, where they sight a great bamboo gate, all of 40 foot in height. Captain, what is it, Bosun?" "We're on the other side, on the fence, where we fell into the cave." "Silence, no talking," said one of the warrior women. Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew, flanked by the warrior women, approach the great bamboo gate. A warrior woman signals by raising her hands, and the great bamboo gate is open. The warrior women, Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew, walk into the enclosed area containing the huts, and are led to a grand hut, a hut much larger than the others. The warrior women, the fearless captain and his courageous crew, walk to the center of the grand hut, and before them is a raised platform, a small stage, upon which are 3 chairs. In the central chair is a woman who has a warrior woman standing beside her, and she says, "I am the high leader of the warrior women. What is your business at Paradise Lost? Why are you here?" Captain Gonsalves replies, "I am Captain Gonsalves of El Maritimo en Pedace del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea. And these are some of the members of my crew. For years I've heard stories of Paradise Lost and the legendary tribe of warrior women. Therefore I decided to set out on a voyage of discovery and exploration, to see if the stories were in fact true or false. Come sit beside me, Captain Gonsalves, and tell me all about yourself," said the high leader of the warrior women. Captain Gonsalves takes a seat beside the high leader of the warrior women and begins to recount his journey so far. Setting sail from Port Key, the passage of storms, the lighthouse, when the gunner's mate takes leave of his senses and makes the mistake of slowly moving his left hand in a circular up and down action across the buttocks of a warrior woman standing beside him. A gesture you could call a caress. "What are you doing, you filthy animal?" shouts the warrior woman, and slaps the gunner's mate across the face. The grand hut falls silent. Then the high leader of the warrior woman asks, "Is there a problem?" The warrior woman replies, "Yes, this rancid dog has tried to grope me." "Grope you?" questioned the high leader of the warrior woman. "His hands were all over my rump," said the warrior woman, who then looks at the gunner's mate and says, "You beast!" and again slaps the gunner's mate across the face. The high leader of the warrior woman, accompanied by Captain Gonsalves, make their way towards the warrior woman and the gunner's mate. Captain Gonsalves addresses the gunner's mate. Is that true, gunner's mate? Well, Captain, it's just the gentlest of touches. The high leader of the warrior woman interjects. That type of behavior is not tolerated here at Paradise Lost. The penalty is death. Captain, said the gunner's mate. All right, gunner's mate, steady on. You just keep calm. Might I have a word? Of course, Captain. Look, he's just a boy. He's quite wet behind the ear. He has virtually no history with women. I brought him along as a coming of age and to gain experience and knowledge of the world. But I'm sure you'll agree, Captain, this type of behavior is uncalled for. For you see, the abuse of women, Captain, is one of the very reasons why we left the world we knew, along with sexism, racism, discrimination, poverty, deprivation, greed, war and injustice. Therefore, you see, this retreat, haven of paradise, is as close to utopia, the perfect world, as we can make it, Captain, said the high leader of the warrior women. Aye, said Captain Gonsalves, but is there not an alternative to your death penalty? I have a whip. How about 20 lashes of the whip? Said Captain Gonsalves. I don't usually have reason to recant and change my mind, but on this occasion, sake of your obvious concern and responsibility to the boy, I agree to 40 lashes of the whip. 40? Said Captain Gonsalves. Yes, Captain Gonsalves, 40 lashes of the whip, and after every lash, salt is to be rubbed into the wound. You will agree, Captain. Aye. This type of behavior is not to be tolerated. The gunner's mate is then led to a palm tree, and his hands are tied by the wrists and then raised above his head and affixed to the trunk. Captain Gonsalves hands his whip to the high leader of the warrior women, who in turn passes it to one of the warrior women, a woman named Bertha, who stands around 6 foot tall, weighing approximately 200 pounds. Salt, salt, where is the salt? Is the high leader of the warrior women. I have it, says a second warrior woman, who steps forward with a large ceramic jar in her hands. Bertha, the warrior woman, walks up to the palm tree and starts to check the rope, tying the wrists and hands of the gunner's mate to the trunk is secure. Then says to one of her fellow warrior women, who is standing beside the palm tree, have you the salt? The warrior woman replies, yes, and lifts the lid on the large ceramic jar and shows Bertha the white crystals. Bertha then says, you need to stand a yard or so back, and the second warrior woman quietly does so. Bertha then takes up her position a yard and a half in front of the palm tree, with the gunner's mate, who is now barebacked and without shirt before her. Bertha then uncoils the whip, holding the stick in her right hand, allowing the cord, the main body of the whip, to casually fall in front of her, with the tail resting in the sand. Bertha then draws back her right hand, holding the stick, and then takes a step forward. And as the cord, the main body of the whip, moves through the air, a sound is heard. The tail flexes and makes contact with the gunner's mate's back and completes the lash. The gunner's mate screams, ah! Bertha says, salt! And the second warrior woman lifts the lid on the large ceramic jar and rubs the right crystal of salt into the lash wound, which is greeted with from the gunner's mate. Again the cord, the main body of the whip, scythes through the air, and a sound is heard. The tail flexes and makes contact with the gunner's mate's back and completes the second lash The gallows mate screams, "Ah! Salt!" shouts Bertha, and the second warrior woman again rubs the white crystal into the lash wound, which is greeted with another "Ah!" screams the gallows mate. "Salt!" shouts Bertha, and again the gallows mate. "Ah!" screams the gallows mate. "Salt!" shouts Bertha, and again the second warrior woman rubs salt into the lash wound, which is greeted with another from the gallows mate. "Ah!" screams the gallows mate. "Salt!" shouts Bertha. Is heard from the gallows mate as the salt is rubbed into his back, completing the fourth lash of the whip. "Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! By the 19th lash of the whip, the back of the gallows mate is clearly blooded. Ah! Salt! 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 We arrive at the 33rd lash of the whip. Ah! Salt! And the gallows mate's legs have completely gone, and it's just his hands tied to the trunk of the palm tree, keeping his back upright. Ah! Salt! And again the white crystals of salt lodge deeper into the bloody wounds on the gallows mate's back, heightening the severity of his punishment. Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! Ah! Salt! shouts Bertha, and the second warrior woman again rubs salt into the back of the gallows mate, which is greeted with a completing the 39th lash of the whip. Ah! Salt! shouts Bertha for the last time, and again the second warrior woman, holding the large ceramic jar, moves forward and daubs the lash wounds on the back of the gallows mate for the 40th and final time with the white crystals of salt. And our actions are greeted with a despairing, "That will teach him," said Bertha. "Yes," added the second warrior woman, as she places the lid back on top of the large ceramic jar. Bertha approaches the high leader of the warrior women and says, "The boy's punishment is complete." "Thank you, Bertha," said the high leader of the warrior women. "He's yours to do as you will, Captain." "Aye," replied Captain Gonsalves. "Doctor?" "Aye, Captain. Tend his wounds and have 2 hands row him back to our ship and tell them to return with all speed." "Aye, aye, Captain," replied the doctor. The Capt captain then turns and looks at the high leader of the warrior women and says, "It's a shame about the boy's behavior. A travesty, Captain. Aye, please forgive me for the gunner's mate's misconduct. Apology accepted, Captain," said the high leader of the warrior women. "Hungry, Captain? Now you come to think of it." "Yes, it's been quite a while since we've eaten," replied Captain Gonsalves. "Well, you'll have to go out and hunt for it," said the high leader of the warrior women. "All right," replied Captain Gonsalves. The high leader of the warrior women then calls, "Marion, Lavina," and two warrior women step forward. The high leader of the warrior women then says, "Take Captain Gonsalves and his men out for a hunt. We're going to have a banquet to honor his visit." Captain Gonsalves then turns and looks at his crew and says, "Doctor?" "Aye, Captain." "Lieutenant?" "Aye, Captain." "Boatswain?" "Captain, aye." "Man of cloth?" "Aye, Captain." "You accompany Marion and Lavina and the other warrior women on the hunt." "Aye, aye, Captain." "Aye, Captain." "Captain, aye." The hunting party make their way out of the grand hut and walk through the village and enclosed area. And as they approach the great bamboo gate, all of 40 foot in height, a warrior woman raises a hand, and the great bamboo gate opens. Leaving the village and enclosed area, Marion, Lavina, their fellow warrior women, the lieutenant, the doctor, the boatswain, and the man of cloth, from the crew of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, begin their journey into the wild and open country of Paradise Lost, a green and verdant land. The warrior woman Marion breaks the silence. "This way," and the men and women of the hunting party set off for the trail through tall grasses and bushes. "Marion, what is our quarry?" asks Boatswain. "Quarry?" questioned the warrior woman. "Yes, you know, what exactly are we looking to snare?" "Oh yes, not too far away is a herd of deer and fish," added Lavina. "Great, I'm licking my lips already. But don't lick them for too long, Boatswain, or you might bite off your tongue. Ha ha ha. Ah, Doctor, not to worry, old friend. If I were to bite off my tongue, I'm sure you'd find a way to stick it back on." "Well done, Boatswain. The good Lord, it appears, has blessed us not only with the spirit of adventure, but also the spirit of mirth and frivolity," said the man of cloth. The light-hearted banter is brought to an end by the warrior woman Marion. "We'll have to move with urgency if we're to make it back for sundown." And the men and women of the hunting party quicken their stride in agreement, and soon resemble a small army unit on the march, trekking through the tall grasses and bushes, until after an hour or so, the narrow, dusty trail disappears into a great field. "Shh, quiet," said the warrior woman Lavina, as she moves her hand up and down with purpose, pointing her forefinger to the ground, indicating to the men and women of the hunting party to lie on their stomachs. For in the distance, a herd of deer can be seen, grazing the cud of the land. And as the fallow chew and ruminate the fertile grasses so plentiful in the field, the warrior woman Lavina reaches for a quiver and selects an arrow, and then places it in her bow and takes aim, slowly drawing back a string. And when the warrior woman's bow arches and is fraught with tension, the warrior woman lets fly. Whoosh, whoo. Goes the arrow and fouls a deer. "Great shot, Lavina," said the lieutenant. The warrior woman Lavina turns and looks at the lieutenant and says, "Now you." The lieutenant then stands up and places an arrow in the bow given to him by one of the warrior women, and then takes aim, slowly drawing back his string. And when the lieutenant's bow arches and is fraught with tension, the lieutenant lets fly. Whoosh! But unfortunately, the lieutenant's arrow misses and goes awry. And seconds later, an arrow thuds into the side of a second deer. Lavina! Incredible! What a world beater! Poor old lieutenant, outdone by a woman, ha ha ha! All right, man of cloth, don't rub it in. The lieutenant manages to fell a deer at his third attempt, while the warrior woman Lavina's count is 4, making a total of 5 deer. The fore and hind legs are tied, and the deer are hoisted onto the shoulders of the warrior women, the lieutenant, and the doctor. The men and women of the hunting party gather themselves. They trek across the great field and make their way onto a well-treaded path which winds through woodland, leading out to the banks of a river. "No prizes for guessing what we're doing here," said Bosun. "It's good to see, Mr. Bosun, you're taking note. And of course, aware, for here's the precise location where we shall find our fish, in the river lying before us," said Lavina. The warrior woman Marion stands on the edge of the bank, looking left and right into the river. The warrior woman Marion raises her hand and then throws a spear into the water. Splash! The rope attached to the spear disappears and begins to race through her hands, and after 4 yards of slack, the warrior woman Marion starts to pull in her rope, hand over arm, until the spear is visible and can be seen. And on the end of her spear is a big, fat, fleshy fish. "Well done, Marion," said Bosun. The warrior woman Marion turns and looks at the bosun and says, "Now you." The bosun stands on the edge of the bank and begins to look left and right at the fishes swimming in the river. The bosun raises his hand, takes aim, and then throws his spear into the water. Splash! And then the bosun pulls in his rope. On the end of his spear he finds nothing. "Hard luck, bosun," said the doctor. "Ah, doctor, I'll get a fish next time. You will see," replied Bosun. The warrior woman Marion repeats her action, standing on the banks of the river, looking left and right. The warrior woman Marion raises her hand and then throws a spear into the water. Splash! The rope attached to the spear disappears and again begins to race through her hands. And after 4 yards of slack, the warrior woman Marion starts to pull in her rope, hand over arm, until the spear is visible and can be seen. And on the end of the spear, again, is a big, fat, fleshy fish. The warrior woman repeats her action on several occasions. Whoosh, splash, whoosh, splash, whoosh, splash, and spears 8 fishes after just an hour. The bosun manages just 1 fish after at least 7 attempts. Hurrah, hurrah! Well done, bosun, old friend, said the doctor. Ah, doctor, it might have been my 7th attempt, but I knew I'd get there. Congratulations, Marion. You proved yourself more than a match for any man. Along with Marion's catch, a haul of 10 fishes is not bad for an afternoon's work, said the doctor. Isn't it time we got back, said the man of cloth, wiping his brow with his handkerchief. Yes, I agree. The sun appears to be on the move, added the warrior woman Marion. The men and women of the hunting party head back along the well-trodden path into the woodland. And when the men and women of the hunting party are at the midpoint of the little forest, the warrior woman Marion holds her right hand aloft, signaling the hunting party to stop. For surrounding the men and women is a number of coconut trees. These coconuts are useful and quite exotic, said Marion. I'll be back, added the warrior woman, as she disappeared in amongst the trees. And when the warrior woman Marion returns, her arms are full of stones and rocks, 15 to 25 centimeters in radius. The warrior woman drops the stones and rocks, then takes a knife and cuts a 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter square of pelt from the side of a deer on the shoulders of one of her fellow warrior women, and then skins the inside of the fur, ridding it of all fat and flesh, and then proceeds to cut the pelt into 3 equal squares, and then bores a hole in each end. Then takes a coil of rope from her side, approximately 7 meters in length, and cuts a meter for each square of fur, and then threads the rope through. Marion, you angel, said the man of cloth. Again, the resourcefulness of these women have been proven, added the lieutenant. The warrior woman Marion walks towards the coconut tree and stands beneath it, and then places a rock in the pelt, and then takes the rope in hand and begins to swing a circle above her head. Faster and faster and faster still. And after 4 revolutions, lets fly. And hits the coconut, and down it falls. Excellent, Marion, says the lieutenant. Then once again the warrior woman Marion places a stone in the deer hide, and then takes the rope in hand and repeats her action, swinging a circle above her head, faster and faster and faster still. And after 3 revolutions, lets fly, and dislodges a second coconut. Marion, would you believe it, said the man of cloth. The warrior woman Marion turns and looks at the man of cloth and says, now you. Well, if I have no choice, then I'd better have a go, replied the man of cloth. The man of cloth takes up a slingshot, leaving one on the ground, then places a rock in the pelt, and now, rope in hand, begins to swing a circle above his head, faster and faster and faster still. And after 7 revolutions, take aim, and direct hit. Would you believe it, man of cloth, said the lieutenant. The warrior woman Marion leads a round of applause, clapping her hands with the most sincerity. Divine intervention, man of cloth? Questioned the lieutenant. Ah, well, I always favored David and Goliath, lieutenant, said the man of cloth. The warrior woman Marion goes on to hit a further 5 coconuts to the man of cloth's 1, making a haul of 8 coconuts. Day becomes night, night becomes day, day becomes week, week becomes month, month becomes months, months number 6. Since we left Port Key. Land, land, land ahoy! Captain, Captain, land, land! One of the hands have sounded land. This night. Night becomes day. Day becomes days. Days number 7. Since Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew bidded farewell to the legendary tribe of warrior women at Paradise Lost. Now on the quest of a wave, buoyancy their guide, the captain and crew forge the azure, the great azure. On board El Malatimo and Fedase del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea. With only the seagulls, dolphins, whales, and sharks for company. Ah, Captain, those women. Oh, your education. I got it. I couldn't agree more. But of course, you would say that, man of cloth. See that you became quite an expert with your slingshot. More than what could be said of you, Lieutenant. And as for dear old bosun. Yes, man of cloth. I might take to a life at sea, like a duck to water. But as we discovered, spear fishing is not exactly one's forte. Roared the men with laughter. Those women, Captain, could they be disillusioned with life? To sail home in such a remote and far-flung spot tells me either something's wrong with our world, or something's wrong with those women. Perhaps they're funny. Funny, Gunner? Yes, you know, women enjoying the company of women folk and all that. No, I wouldn't say it was funny, Gunner. Feminists, maybe, but not funny. Yes, I'd say they're feminists. All for the liberating movement of women. Here, I second that. They spoke of the ills of the world, sexism, deprivation, injustice, and greed. Aye, man of cloth. Doctor, aye, Captain. How's the gunner's mate? Has he recovered yet? More or less, Captain. His back's almost healed, and I'd say he's well on the road to recovery. All right, Doctor. Well then, I'm off to my cabin, and me to the gunnery. I'll be in my quarters. I think I'll take a look at the good book. With the departure of the captain, the gunner, and the man of cloth to their cabins and station, the top deck of El Malatimo and Fedase del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea, begins to fall peacefully quiet with a deathly silence. But for the distant cries of birds in flight and the ruffles of the sails made by the gusts of wind which creak the timbers of the masts as they take the strain. Not a sound is to be heard until boom! A cannonball splashes just short of the hull of El Maritimo and Fidace del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea. Then seconds later, boom! A second cannon sounds and breaks the silence further. My God, what was that? Said Captain Gonsalves to himself. Captain, we're under attack! Shouts the boatswain. Captain Gonsalves goes up on deck amidst the flying splinters of timber. Ah, my eye! Screams the lieutenant. Doctor! Aye, Captain. Tend to the lieutenant at once. Aye, Captain, replies the doctor. Captain, we've been hit. We're taking in water. We've a gaping hole the starboard side. Calm down, bosun. Keep your head. Have the carpenter and hands repair the damage with all speed. Aye, Captain. Captain Gonsalves takes from the breast pocket of his frock coat a brass telescope. He extends the lens and with a watchful eye begins to scrutinize. He looks across to his right and he sights a black flag from the skull and crossbones. He lowers the gaze and sees men busying themselves on the top deck. He lowers his looking glass further and to the left, and with his telescopic lens reads La Fortuna di Pusada, the house of fortune. But why? Captain Gonsalves asked himself. Captain Gonsalves and his courageous crew have been attacked by a galleon in open water. A broadside has been fired and a cannonball has put a hole in the starboard side of El Maritimo and Fidace del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea. The unknown enemy who flies a skull and crossbones continues to pound the waters surrounding our brave heroes. Now we enter the gunnery of El Maritimo and Fidace del Mar, where the gunner and the gunner's mate are hard at work, providing a venomous and deadly riposte. Hurry, gunner's mate. Load the cannonballs into the cannons. Aye, gunner. Gunner lights the fuses of the cannons. And El Maritimo and Fidace del Mar fires a broadside. 4 cannons, one after the other. Boom! 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 And through the grey-white clouds of smoke, the cannonballs can be seen falling short, way short. Captain! Aye, bosun. Gunners open fire, but we seem to be falling short. By as much as 15 yards. Aye, I noticed, bosun. As much as 20 yards I make it. Bosun, get an eye. Tell the gunner to hold his fire. Aye, aye, Captain. I return with all speed. We now focus on the lieutenant, who is receiving treatment for the damage caused to his eye by a flying piece of timber, the result of a direct hit from the cannonball fired by the unknown enemy. The doctor hands the lieutenant a balled up piece of cloth, which the lieutenant holds to his right eye, stemming the flow of blood, and then leads him down into his cabin and sits him down. He immediately gives the lieutenant a bottle of rum and says, "My deepest sympathies, Lieutenant." "Aye, Doctor. The dangers are plentiful when one charts the open waters of the oceans and seas." "Aye, Lieutenant," replied the doctor. The doctor's attention now moves to a pair of wooden buckets standing in the corner of his cabin. The doctor walks towards the wooden buckets, carrying a ceramic pot in his hand. He then lowers the ceramic pot into the first of the wooden buckets, quarter filling it with water. He then turns his attention to the second of the wooden buckets, which contains soil of the earth. He scoops up a handful of soil and adds it to the water. He then takes a knife from a scabbard at his side and begins to stir. The water and the soil mixture begins to form a slurry. The doctor then adds a second scoop of earth to the mixture, and the water and the soil, the slurry, becomes mud. The doctor then approaches the lieutenant, who is sitting in a chair beside a table, upon which lie several square cotton swabs and a patch. The doctor asks the lieutenant to tilt his head back and steady himself, which the lieutenant does after taking a lengthy swig from his bottle of rum. The doctor takes a handful of mud in his hands and shapes it into a pack and places it on the lieutenant's right eye. The doctor then takes one of the square cotton swabs he had laid out earlier, along with a patch from the table, and places it on top of the mud pack. He then takes the patch and places it on top of the cotton swab and ties the ends of the patch firmly behind the lieutenant's head and says, "How does that feel, Lieutenant?" "Well, apart from the horrendous pain, my eye feels quite cold, whilst the swab seems very secure. And as for the patch, well, it firmly covers the socket of my eye." The lieutenant takes another lengthy swig finishing the bottle of rum, and says to the doctor, "Thanks for that, doctor. I'll have to go back up on deck. Sounds as if we're engaged in a battle." "Aye," replied the doctor. "I heard the booms from our cannons earlier. I'll just finish up down here, then I'll be up on deck myself." The lieutenant leaves the doctor and the sick bay and makes his way up onto the top deck, where Captain Gonsalves greets him. "All fixed up, Lieutenant?" "Yes," replies the lieutenant. "Now, gentlemen," says Captain Gonsalves to the lieutenant, the gunner, and the boatswain, "as you can see, we're under attack, and our cannons, gentlemen, have not the power nor the range to hit or strike a blow upon our enemy. Therefore, gentlemen, we shall tack against the wind and sail a half moon, a crescent, thus taking us out of the enemy's line of fire, and approach the sea wolves head on." "All agreed?" "Here, here, aye," replies Captain Gonsalves' trusted mariners. "Hoist the sails, Lieutenant." "Hoist the sails," barks the lieutenant. "Hoist the sails," repeats the gunner. "Sails hoist, hoist the sails," muddles boatswain. "I take it you will be able to supervise the maneuver, Lieutenant," said Captain Gonsalves. "Of course," replies the lieutenant. "All right, over to you, Lieutenant. I'll go check on the carpenter's progress. We had a gaping hole starboard side." Captain Gonsalves makes his way down to the lower deck, where upon arrival says to the carpenter, "How's it going, carpenter?" "Aye, Captain, we're coping, but only just," replies the carpenter, who goes on to say, "As you might have guessed, we took in quite a bit of water. We got rid of most of it, Captain, after I hastily boarded up the hole made by the cannonball, which was approximately a yard and a half at its furthest point, and I've since been able to carry out a sound job, cutting and replacing the damaged lengths of timber. The caulker, Captain, completed the task." "He did he?" said Captain Gonsalves. "Yes, Captain. I shredded some old rope and mixed the strands with tar and filled the gaps between the timbers. Well done, caulker," said Captain Gonsalves. "Aye, Captain. Well, it's the only skill I possess. Aye, good man." "All right. Thankfully, we're still afloat," said Captain Gonsalves. "I must leave you now, as we are in the thick of battle." Captain Gonsalves departs and makes his way back up onto the top deck, where he finds El Maritimo and Fadase del Mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, about to tack 14 points of the compass. The captain and his courageous crew begin the crescent maneuver, and take their seafaring craft from west by south to west-southwest, through southwest by west to southwest, through southwest by south to south-southwest, to south by west, through to south, then on to south by east, to south-southeast, through southeast by south, on to southeast, then to southeast by east, through to east-southeast, where Captain Gonsalves says, all hands on deck. All hands on deck. Ask the lieutenant, all hands on deck, repeats the gunner. Deck hands, hands on deck, manages bosun. And within minutes, Captain Gonsalves is standing before his crew and says, men, we're about to complete the crescent maneuver and will board the wretched vessel La Fortuna di Posada, the House of Fortune, at the prow, the front of the ship. Therefore, have your arms about you, and most of all, men, be ready. Aye, aye, Captain, say the crew. El Maritimo, enfadase del mar, the sea, the troublesome sea. Captain and crew, complete the crescent maneuver by tacking from east-southeast to east by south, where the fearless captain and his courageous crew sail directly towards the prow, the front of La Fortuna di Posada, the House of Fortune. El Maritimo enfadase del mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, rams the prow, the front of the enemy's craft. And immediately Captain Gonsalves says, men, throw your lines. And the courageous crew of El Maritimo, enfadase del mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, hurl their grapples and attach their hooks to the prow, the front of La Fortuna di Posada, the House of Fortune. And the men begin to tie the ropes attached to the grapples onto the bulwarks, the grates, the sides, the masts, whatever they can find on deck, in order to steady and station the enemy vessel. Then Captain Gonsalves says, now, carpenter. And the carpenter and the caulker, they are plank each from El Maritimo, enfadase del mar, the sea, the troublesome sea, to the La Fortuna di Posada, the House of Fortune, providing a gangway for Captain Gonsalves and his crew to board the enemy vessel. Now on board the enemy ship, La Fortuna di Posada, the House of Fortune, Captain Gonsalves and his crew stand before a rugged number of brigands and corsairs. Captain Gonsalves says, for what reason have you opened fire on my ship and crew? Then a wiry man, all of 5'11", steps forward and says, "Captain Jake." "Captain Jake?" replies Captain Gonsalves with astonishment. "Yes, Captain Gonsalves of El Maritimo and Vedata del Mar. I am Captain Jake's brother, Captain Jack of La Fortuna di Pusada, the House of Fortune, and the word has got around that you, Captain Gonsalves, are responsible for the death of my brother, Captain Jake. What have you to say in your defense, Captain Gonsalves?" questioned Captain Jack. Captain Jake and the crew of the San Maritime, the Sea Saint, used a ploy, an act of deception. I saw from a distance thick black clouds of smoke rising from the deck of the San Maritime, the Sea Saint. I went to their rescue, believing I could help and provide assistance. Once on board the San Maritime, the Sea Saint, Captain Jake and his crew ambushed myself and my boarding party. His exact words, Captain Jack, on the clouds of smoke were, "A lure, Captain, a simple lure to persuade you and your crew to board our ship. And of course, we will relieve you of your valuables and booty." Captain Jake's number 2, Foss, and several members of the San Maritime, the Sea Saint, began seizing our valuables and purses. A battle ensued, and Captain Jake was killed in the melee by myself. Believe it or not, Captain Gonsalves, there seems to be an element of truth in what you say. For my brother, Captain Jake, practiced long and hard the distress single, the fire trick, and perfected it. And it was employed on a number of occasions. And his act of deception was hugely successful. But what is to prevent me from killing you, Captain Gonsalves, in an act of vengeance? I know. Birds, Captain Gonsalves. Birds? Yes, birds. We shall shoot birds. And if you, Captain Gonsalves, miss your target, I will kill you. Well, it seems I've got no choice, replied Captain Gonsalves. We shall take 5 shots each, and if you are successful, you are free to go. Captain Jack and Captain Gonsalves are handed double-barrel muskets. They sight a flock of birds, and Captain Jack says, "Heads up!" and 4 shots ring out. Boom! 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 And down falls 4 birds into the sea. Captain Jack and Captain Gonsalves are both given a second double-barrel musket, while the spent muskets are reloaded. Again, Captain Jack says, "Heads up!" and the 2 captains sight another flock of seagulls. And again, a volley of gunfire is heard. Boom, 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 and a further 4 birds fall. Once again, the 2 captains are handed muskets. but this time the spent muskets are not reloaded. As the captains take aim for the final time, again Captain Jack says, "Heads up!" and takes aim. Boom! Boom! The deafening sound of gunfire echoes out to sea, but only one bird falls this time. Could it be Captain Gonsalves has fallen at the last hurdle? With his fate yet to be decided, Captain Gonsalves looks towards Captain Jack. With an anxious gaze, Captain Jack's grimace becomes a wry smile. At the last hurdle, could it be Captain Gonsalves has fallen at the last hurdle? With his fate yet to be decided, Captain Gonsalves looks towards Captain Jack. With an anxious gaze, Captain Jack's grimace becomes a wry smile. "All right, Captain Gonsalves, you win. I missed my quarry by a country mile. In fact, a nautical mile. Hey, 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 hey!" Cheer the boarding party of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar. "Well done, Captain." "Aye, Basin. I knew you were a great shot, Captain. Well done." "Thank you, Gunner," said Captain Gonsalves. "All right, men, back to our ship." And Captain Gonsalves and his crew once again board El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea, and continue their voyage of discovery and exploration, with only the seagulls, the dolphins, whales, and sharks for company. Day becomes night, night becomes day, day becomes week, week becomes month, month becomes months, months number 6, since we left Port Key. "Land, land, land, ahoy! Captain, Captain, land, land! One of the hands have sighted land," said the boatswain. And the captain, with his right hand, takes from the breast pocket of his frock coat a brass telescope, extends the lens, and with a watchful eye begins to scrutinize. He sights an island. He gives the command, "Drop anchor." The lieutenant drops the anchor, and the crew of El Maritimo take their rowboats and row to shore, where they're greeted by a man waving his arms, who seems pleased to meet the captain and crew of El Maritimo and Fedase del Mar. The sea, the troublesome sea. the man explains he doesn't have too many visitors, and goes on to state how he came to inhabit his island home, Whale Bay. I was a king, and on a voyage of discovery and exploration, with the courtiers of my court and a crew of able seamen, when I became a victim of a coup, a plot. Several courtiers and a number of seamen took control of my vessel, the king's ship, and killed my loyal hands and men of court. I myself was spared the sword, but was thrown overboard for the sharks. If not for the dorsal fin of a whale, I would not be here today. Miracles, let me assure you, gentlemen, miracles do sometime happen. For the whale, with me holding on for dear life to its dorsal fin, brought me to this island. I built a raft and drifted back to my lands, where the conspirators who were responsible for my fate were found and sentenced to death, along with their royal impostor. I returned to the throne and again wore the crown, sake of the demands and urgings of my people. After 3 years, I looked at my court, people, and nation, and thought how fortunate I was, and decided to bid farewell to a life of the highest order. Goodbye to my kingdom, its luxury and wealth, my wife and my family, my court, and the people of my nation. I returned to Whale Bay to live a life of piety, surviving off the land and the sea. The humility of the whales, those gentle giants who saved my life, have made me look at the world in a different light. I today feel one with the universe. Aye, said the captain, enlightening.